It began, as most fateful things do, with a mistake, a spilled cup of coffee, a flurry of apology, and a pair of brown eyes that would haunt me for weeks after. My name is Dr. Joshua West. I'm 32, a senior researcher in neural biosystems, and by all accounts, successful. I have my lab, my publications, my neat, orderly life. But nothing in my well-organized world prepared me for Nolan Reeves. He arrived on a humid June morning as our newest intern, assigned to shadow me for a 12-week summer placement, 22 years old, fresh out of his undergraduate program, sharp, curious, and, if I'm being honest, obscenely attractive. From the start, he stood out, not just because he asked insightful questions, not just because he devoured scientific journals like they were novels, but because of how he looked at me, and because of how he looked. Nolan was tall, maybe 6 foot or just under, lean, but sculpted in that effortless way that only youth and a disciplined gym routine can create. He had swimmer's shoulders under his shirt, forearms dusted with sun-kissed hair, and fingers, God help me, long, veined, and precise. His jawline was sharp enough to cut tension, and his voice? Warm and smooth, with a lazy drawl that made even biochemical jargon sound like a come-on. And I was a professional. At least, I tried to be. Our work routine settled quickly. He was assigned to my cell culture trials, and I had every reason to spend hours with him each day, explaining, guiding, demonstrating. But he made it hard to concentrate. He leaned in too close when he didn't need to. He'd laugh softly when I made a dry joke. He called me Dr. West at first, but by week 3 it was just Josh. Once, during a late afternoon calibration, I noticed a bead of sweat run from his temple down the line of his neck, disappearing into the open collar of his shirt. I should have looked away. I didn't. He caught me, smirked, and from then on, the air between us changed. There were no lines crossed, no rules broken, just a constant, low hum of electricity. He would rest a hand on the bench beside mine a little too close, brush past me with that heat you only feel when someone's body is near. I knew I should shut it down, but every time I tried, he'd glance up at me with those unreadable eyes and smile, not arrogant, not mocking, just knowing. One Friday evening, he stayed late to finish his data logs. I offered to stay too. We ended up eating takeout on the lab steps under a flickering street lamp. He asked about my past relationships. I deflected. Then he asked, "Why are you so afraid to want something, Josh?" I couldn't answer. Not then. Over the next few weeks, it got harder. He once fell asleep on the office couch after a 12-hour shift. I walked in to find him shirt half unbuttoned, one arm tucked under his head, the soft curve of his torso rising and falling with each breath. His abs were faintly visible, taut and defined, a trail of fine hair disappearing into his jeans. I stood there too long. When he stirred and opened one eye, he murmured, "Are you going to keep staring or join me?" I left the room before I did something reckless. His internship was ending. We had a small farewell at the lab. He shook hands with everyone, made polite thank yous. When it was just us, he stood too close again. Said, "Guess this is goodbye, huh?" I nodded. And then, without asking, he leaned in and kissed me. A perfect kiss. Soft, brief and gentle. And maddeningly sure of himself. "I just had to know," he whispered, "if you felt it too." And then he left. No drama, no contact, just silence. And I went back to my ordered world. But nothing felt ordered anymore. Months passed. I buried myself in work. The ache of that summer fading, but never quite gone. And then, in March, I was invited to speak at a neuroscience conference in Chicago. I arrived at the hotel late, tired, jet-lagged. After my panel, I wandered into the bar, half empty, dimly lit, buzzing with academic chatter. And there he was, at the far end of the bar, in a slim charcoal suit. nursing a martini. Nolan, older now, sharper, still unfairly beautiful. Our eyes met across the room. He raised his glass, then smiled, and just like that, everything rushed back. I walked over. Didn't expect to see you here, I said. He shrugged. Got accepted to a PhD program. Thought I'd come see what the big leagues look like. We talked for hours about everything and nothing. There was a lull. He looked at me, head tilted, and said, "You still holding back?" This time, I didn't answer. I just leaned in and kissed him, determined and certain, full of every silent sentence I hadn't said that summer. He responded immediately, lips hungry, hands sliding to the back of my neck. We didn't speak on the elevator ride up to my room. The air between us burned. Once inside, he pressed me to the wall and kissed me again, deeper this time, like he was reclaiming time we'd lost. I slid his jacket off, fingers brushing the hard lines of his chest beneath the thin fabric. He undid his shirt slowly, revealing the body I'd memorized in glances months ago, broad shoulders, smooth pecs, abs carved like a statue. He touched me like he knew every place I ached, and I let go of every rule, every hesitation. We didn't rush. We moved like we'd waited for this. Because we had. He whispered things against my skin, soft, breathless confessions that made me shiver. We fell asleep tangled in hotel sheets, the scent of his skin still on mine. And when I woke, he was still there, warm, real, and smiling. Later that day, before we parted, he said, "I'm not an intern anymore." I smiled. I noticed. He looked at me. "So what now?" And I said, "Now we stop pretending." He grinned, leaned in, and kissed me once more. And this time, I kissed him like I wasn't afraid. Subscribe to True BL Stories for more romantic, emotional, and unforgettable journeys of love.